Even when things are going perfectly, something is going to go bump in the night. Are you ready to be able to respond when that does happen?
Welcome everyone to the DTCC Insights podcast. I'm Jason Harrell, Managing Director of Operational and Technology Risk and Head of External Engagement. Joining me today are two of my colleagues from DTCC, Yonesy Núñez, Chief Information Security Officer, and our Chief Cybersecurity Officer, Bob Moncini. Yonesy, what has the reaction been to CrowdStrike from the financial services sector, and what's next?
It's a really good question, Jason. I think it's a three-pronged approach of what's been happening. So frankly, we are focusing on exercising our resilience capabilities. So we showed a lot of collaboration, sharing, and openness. I want to give a shout out to George Kurtz and the entire CrowdStrike team for how they delivered support in the wake of this outage. And notwithstanding their capabilities, we know that we need to do more work and due diligence in the way that some of these cybersecurity tools update environments, and we need more scrutiny in ensuring that those updates cannot cause an outage like CrowdStrike. Yeah. On the other hand, the collaboration side has been an outpouring of support for those organizations that had great resilience measures in place and sharing those across the sector to make sure that others can quickly come back up. Part of that collaboration requires the openness and the integrity and humility that CrowdStrike and others experience and also supported during the process. And I think that's the positive. But again, on the other side of things, the focus really is going to be moving forward. What are other areas that have single points of failure that require constant updates to the threat environment?
Right. And I think just to support that, and look at this all broke at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Where all of a sudden systems aren't working. From the second that we joined the calls, right? We were, it was refreshing to know that we had CrowdStrike support on us from the beginning. We were in constant contact with their client-facing teams, right? And I think the level of communication, the openness and transparency really was what made this easier to get through, especially at the beginning. But I think more to what you're saying that, I think when you look at it from an industry standpoint, there really is now the interest in getting critical vendors. And I think as we go through this, we're going to have the conversation. Is it time to reconsider what a critical vendor is?
That's a really good point. Prioritization is going to be key. I always feel that continuously checking your environment and verifying, remember what got us here is not going to get us there. What was good yesterday might not be good today nor tomorrow. And it's part of what I like to dub progression over perfection.
Yeah. I mean, when I looked at CrowdStrike, I think it actually reinforced how interconnected the technology is in our daily lives. I had friends that couldn't get on planes, and you start to realize, wow, all of this interconnectedness between and across sectors is important. And I also think it confirms some of the regulatory aspects of third-party and supply chain, where the financial authorities have been focused on resilience and third-party risk management for quite some time, and then you have an event such as CrowdStrike, and that just kind of doubled down on the importance of third-party management, and as you had mentioned, what are the critical third parties, and as you had mentioned, Yonesy, the oversight that we need to have to understand the controls and how change management is happening within these organizations. But given that, what changes do we actually expect for third party and supply chain risk management, and as a result of the CrowdStrike outage?
I would say that the first thing is making sure that resilience capabilities are in place. It's always important, because even when things are going perfectly, something is going to go bump in the night. Are you ready to be able to respond when that does happen? So number one. And the second one, to address your question directly around supply chain and making sure you're reviewing vendors appropriately, I think what this is going to do is have folks go back with a fine-tooth comb and understand where are other critical vendors, critical third parties, and how those critical vendors and critical third parties are updating, and what is the level of vetting that they're performing, and demonstrate that is sound and demonstrate that it can happen at scale, knowing that you can't account for all circumstances, but there should be a minimum viable level that should be vetted and tested for before updates are flowing into your environment. How do we continue to have the expediency in getting those updates, but in a vetted fashion? I believe that's where we're going to be. Not that folks aren't doing that today, but I think there's every time an event or incident takes place is an opportunity to look back now with specifics of what can go bump in the night, like in this event. And I feel that it's an opportunity to do better, to get better.
Right. I think as we go forward also, again, the speed of change just continues to grow. I think for us as practitioners, we also have to look at our policies, our procedures, our controls when it comes to receiving mass updates from our vendors. Again, the interconnectivity and of working with these vendors, right? So there's things that we need to look at. Are there ways to throttle the speed at what these changes are coming into our organization? Can you find a segment of it, right? So again, it's a partnership. It's the things we speak about in our industry groups all the time. We have a couple of big meetings coming up, and I'm sure this is going to be a topic at all of those meetings. And we're going to talk to our peers and see, well, how did you handle it? What did you do that maybe lessen the impact, to your firm? And those are the conversations I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just add one more thing that I was thinking about as you guys were explaining this was, I believe in the recent NIST cybersecurity framework, they added a pillar for extend, which looks at third-party and fourth-party risk. So I think we're seeing that expansion on what the expectations are for firms who have built their cybersecurity programs. Like, how are you managing these vendors? How are you doing your due diligence? How are you doing contracts and the like? And so I think that part and parcel to all of the activities that we're doing internally, there's going to be a renewed focus, as you said, from the financial authorities on what we're doing for risk management and cyber risk management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're only as strong as our weakest link. So ensuring that we understand what the flow looks like, what the dependencies are, and then what are our backups? What is our resiliency plan should one of those dependencies have a fault?